the short version is that I used to do the high bore, like high support grip thing going on here, you know, where you're like, and some people are still doing that without hooking their finger on the trigger guard, but I was one of those people that hooked on the trigger guard, and I actually like used my middle finger too to actually hook onto the middle onto the trigger guard, like the inside pad here. I could talk for like 20 minutes about this grip and like how it seems to be really popularized and pushed in like the last few years, especially by like military dudes and stuff like that. And it has a lot of advantages, and I think it works really well, but it also has a lot of like minor problems that I think add up, and it just wasn't, it felt very limiting to me. It doesn't feel like there's a whole lot I can do to get around some stuff. Like you can't shoot that way when the gun's hot. Trigger control is really messed up. You would often interface with your slide lock, unless you had, you know, an aftermarket product like this one. It was pretty tiring. I have small hands, and the return wasn't great, etc., etc. Like there's a lot of small problems that I think you could get really good at, and I felt like I got pretty decent with it, but it didn't really feel like something I could take to the next level and get really, really consistent. Because it's like you watch pro shooters and they're doing, you know, 1.5 bill drills, and it's like a butthole size grouping, and I'm like, there's no way my gun will ever return that precise. That doesn't seem possible. The breakthrough after 2 days of shooting in 1,700 rounds was crushing with my support hand and squeezing like this, not like wrapping around the gun, but like just pressing my fingers towards my palms basically. And so I'm pushing down here and here, and I have a floaty thumb now, floaty thumb gang, I guess, where my thumb is actually not contacting the gun. It might rest there, but it's not doing anything other than that. And the biggest part that was like, my dot just comes right back, and it just sits there. It's perfect. It doesn't wiggle. It doesn't go down too far. It just like boop, boop, right back. I saw the Ben Staker video, and I saw it before, but I didn't like try applying it until I was in my car because it was too hot and I was cooling down, and I was watching the videos while I was cooling down, and he said like squeeze as hard as you can with these 3 fingers. That's it. Pull the finger, right? Flip them off, and then just rest that middle finger back. And so the middle finger doesn't really have any tension in it because that will start to mess with your trigger finger. And so when I combined those 2 principles and the sort of like secret third thing that was really interesting to me, everyone talks about wrist lockout, especially wrist locking out downward like this. And on one hand, that's uncomfortable. It's not really a big deal. But when I do that, if I shoot like this, it totally messes everything up. The return is just, it's so bouncy, like the gun will fire and it'll come back, and it might dip lower than where the original point was. It might like scramble around towards the end. It won't settle. I think I could even feel like some muzzle dip going on because of that wrist lockout. But if I instead had not downward lockout, but instead just keeping a strong wrist position, yes, sure, maybe the wrist will break first in recoil, but point being, like, now the gun was just returning right back every single time without any wiggle. And maybe that's because, like, if I had to guess, it's like I'm not trying to like rush the gun back down. I'm instead just having this structure where the gun wants to naturally return there. Whereas if I wrist lock out downward, the gun comes up and I'm forcing the gun back down. And now there's a bunch of extra energy, even though the gun is already back on target. That's at least just my theory there. But that was kind of the breakthrough. The reason why in that video I'm like, God kill me, is because, well, for one, I feel like I wasted a lot of ammo. I know I didn't, but it certainly feels like I wasted a lot of ammo. But the other thing is, like, this is now something I'm gonna have to practice a whole lot at, because even now, like, it's really hard to do this consistently. Like, if I relax my firing hand like completely, I'm barely holding on to this gun, and I take my support hand and I crush these fingers, it feels like I'm squeezing with my right hand now. Maybe I'm just like autistic or something, and I mean, like I shouldn't feel this way, but like if I squeeze really hard with my support hand right now, it's kind of hard to like feel much difference between like if I engage my firing hand grips, my firing hand fingers, and squeezing down on them. I can obviously tell the difference. Like if I'm doing a quick draw and coming into presentation, it's like it's really hard for me to just think about only squeezing the ring and pinky, but not the middle finger on top of having my support hand crushed on top of it. So I was like, oh god, please, please don't let this be the grip that I should use. But training issues, skill issues. So that's what's going on with that video.